On this edition of In the Know, we are diving into the Pacific typhoon activity, bringing deadly impacts in its path. Now, this is a look at Typhoon Kalmagi, which made impacts earlier this week, killing hundreds of people in central parts of Vietnam. That's where it made landfall, but the Philippines, they also saw quite large impacts. In fact, the president of the Philippines has declared a state of emergency. This is how heavy the rain was at the time. Also rising, those river levels. Many of scenes coming out of the Philippines look just like this, with water rescues underway. There was destructive winds, life-threatening storm surge. You can see in the distance there on this river, that is a cow that is struggling in that water. Several airlines, including Philippine Airlines, have canceled all flights. Weather agencies are watching for the latest typhoon, Typhoon Fung-Wong, which would be the second typhoon this week to make impacts in the Philippines. Wow, check out this snake getting out of that water. Quite an eerie scene out there in the Philippines. There are hundreds of people still missing from the past typhoon, and this next one is set to bring quite the impacts, which we are diving in with meteorologist Kevin MacKay. We're going to talk more about the track on this, if it's going to make landfall, and the timing on it as it churns through the Pacific. You can see this is the latest satellite imagery of Typhoon Fung-Wong. And we'll dive into more of these impacts with Kevin MacKay. Kevin, right now it's churning through the Pacific, but it's set to make landfall in the Philippines. Let's dive into some of this track, but it's been quite the active season so far for those across the Pacific.
Yeah, that last storm earlier this week went through the southern parts of the Philippines, but earlier in September, Ragasa became a Category 5, and it went just north of the Philippines. Now, this track, it didn't even make landfall in the Philippines, yet it still caused $1.6 billion in damage. So we do have a little bit of good news when we look at the track of Fung-Wong. You can see that that is just after landfall, so it should make landfall as a 3, which is still a major typhoon, but it was expected to be a strong 4. Now, the downside with this track is, look at that, almost a U-turn it makes towards Taiwan. Now, as it weakens, as it crosses over the main island, that wind field's going to broaden, so is the rainfall. So the wind, yes, it's going to be very localized. The Philippines and Taiwan, both very mountainous, so higher elevations, this will be much like Jamaica and Cuba, where the higher you go, you're still going to get those increased wind gusts, and then there's that turn up towards Taiwan. Now, the rain, this is going to be probably the biggest concern. You know, they see the wind, a Category 3, of course it's notable and major, but this is going to be causing the landslide, the flooding, especially with how saturated everything is from the last couple of storms. So luckily Manila is a little sheltered from this storm track, so it's not a worst case scenario for the biggest city. I think there's over 15 million people in Metro Manila. So if we can avoid the worst case scenario there in terms of power outages as well, I think that will be the best bet. But yeah, we still have to keep an eye on Taiwan and China as well.
And keeping in mind, this comes on the heels of another typhoon that we were watching, so they already have destruction from that left to clean up.